Hey guys, hope you're doing well. After revealing my obsession for guitars last week, a bunch of you hit me up asking for a guitar video, so this one's for you. It's time to reveal my guitar collection for 2021. My guitar collection. It's come a long way. It's come a long way. As I confessed last week, I've owned a lot of electric guitars. Over the course of my guitar journey, I personally have actually really enjoyed watching people's collection videos. So I thought, hey, people have shown some interest from last week, so I may as well show what I've currently got in my studio right now. Before I get into that, I do just want to clarify that despite what it probably looked like, I've always had a limit rule for how many guitars I own. Recently, I bought a guitar rack that holds 5 guitars. It's sitting just there. It looks very nice. So I've used that as a way to limit the amount of guitars that I'm allowed to have, because if I can't store them on that rack, then they're not allowed to be here. Arlene 100% backed that idea when I had it. Alongside the guitar rack rule is the reason that I got into guitar in the first place, which was to write and record my own music using guitar as the main instrument. For that reason, 2 of the guitars on my rack are actually an acoustic and a bass, which stay there all the time. So in actual fact, my limit for electric guitars is only 3. Much better than what it seemed, right? All right, so without further ado, here's my guitar collection for 2021. I'm gonna go in the order that I got them. So first up is my Fender Mustang bass. Lovely. Can't go wrong with a classic Olympic white and mint pickguard. The story of getting this is actually an interesting one. I left my job at Spotify, I think end of 2018, and I actually ended up being unemployed for about 6 months. And during that time, I was obviously really bored, so I wanted to be writing music because I had the time, but I didn't have the money. So I decided that once I got a job, I would buy myself this bass guitar as a reward. But it also kind of motivated me during that time to keep looking for a job because I really wanted this bass, so I could lay down actual bass tracks when I was recording music. So 6 months later, got my job, got my first paycheck, and I bought this bad boy, and he's been with me ever since. He's probably the guitar that's been with me the longest now in my current collection. As far as basses go, it's pretty small, which is the reason that I was drawn to it, because I'm not that tall. It's also got a much shorter neck length than your typical bass, so it feels more like an electric guitar in the hands. I'm still not great at bass, but I love playing it. There's just something about playing rhythm that probably reminds me of my days as a drummer as well. So yeah, I love it. Being able to lay down actual bass tracks is great. All right, next up is probably my most important guitar in my collection in terms of sentimental value. And it's my Maton EM225C acoustic guitar. This thing has a great story, both about how I got it and what I have used it for. Still in tune, that's nice. I'd already owned a Maton acoustic guitar, so I knew that the build quality was amazing. They're Australian made, so I was keen to support that. The other one that I had, at the time, the neck was just a bit too thick for me. I found it really awkward and hard to play. The notes weren't coming out great. Since then, it's become a little obvious that was probably just because of my skill on the instrument, but it was definitely an acoustic guitar that I did not need at the time, just because it was a professional level acoustic guitar and it was my first acoustic guitar ever. So I sold that one and I started looking for another Maton guitar that was a lot cheaper on Marketplace. I think I actually ended up finding this one on Gumtree. The guy lived in Wollongong though, so one morning I got up and I drove to Wollongong and I picked this bad boy up and I went for a walk along the beach, which was lovely. And then I drove back and no one in my family knew. Arlene didn't know. I just had this nice Wollongong trip to buy an acoustic guitar, and it's been great ever since. Neck's nice and thin like I wanted, so that's great. And I actually ended up using this acoustic guitar to propose to Arlene about 2 months later, which I did, and she said yes. So yeah, this one, very special. It will always be the acoustic guitar that I used to ask Arlene to marry me. Right, now we're on to the electric guitars. The oldest one I have in my collection is actually one that I can safely say I'm never gonna get rid of, because it's actually my dream guitar. I've been a big fan of John Mayer for a long time, and he's actually the reason that I took the plunge and started learning guitar myself. One day, after listening to probably Slow Dancing in a Burning Room for the billionth time, I think something clicked in me that was like, you know what? I'm sick of listening to these and loving them. I want to be able to play these guitar solos and these guitar parts as well. Suffice to say, owning a John Mayer signature guitar has always been on my bucket list. So it's with great pleasure that I'm able to show to you my PRS Silver Sky, aka John Mayer's signature guitar. She is a beaut, and she's expensive, but in my humble opinion, this is the best Stratocaster style guitar I've ever played, hands down. It's great. I actually found a screenshot of this guitar that I'd saved 3 or 4 years ago before I'd even started playing guitar. So I'd obviously really had my eyes on this for a while, and it means even more now that I can be the owner of one. It's honestly gorgeous. In terms of being able to afford this guitar, it's actually kind of a funny story. I'd recently bought a Fender American Ultra Stratocaster. I'll put a picture up on the screen now. It was gorgeous, but when I realized the amount of money I'd paid for it, I realized that I could sell it and another guitar and actually afford my dream guitar, the Silver Sky. So that's what I did. Sold 2 guitars, might have actually been the Ultra Strat and some guitar pedals that I was also selling at the time. And then about a month later, she was mine. I can't explain enough, at least to guitar players. Anything I say in this video is probably gonna sound weird to non-guitar players, but this thing just plays so nicely. The neck is actually a little thicker on the back than I'm used to. It feels the hand more, but gosh, it's made me fall in love with thicker necks. It just hugs your palm in a way that I did not like when I was a bit more of a noob player. To the point where whenever I look at new guitars now, I make sure that they don't have a slim neck. The one other nerdy guitar thing I'll say about the Silver Sky is that it sounds great in every single pickup position. These are the pickups, these 3 things. If you don't know, I'll do another video on that. And typically a Strat is known to have a great neck pickup, but on the bridge, all the way down the end, bridge, to be a little thin, a little too bright. Not a problem on this guitar. Sounds great on solos. I love it. Could not be happier with my Silver Sky, and I can comfortably say I'm never gonna get rid of her. These final 2 electric guitars are definitely ones that I did not expect to buy in 2021. At the point I got my Silver Sky, I'd actually capped out at my 3 electric guitars, and I was really happy with the ones that I had. I'd chosen those 3 electric guitars specifically because each one of them did something slightly different sonically, which covered all my bases when I was recording music. Then one fateful day, this guy came onto Marketplace and I had to have it. It is a 1993-94 Fender made in Japan Stratocaster, and it doesn't really pick it up on camera, but this thing is just a beautiful guitar. Like, I am in love with this guitar. It's become really apparent to me that I love white or blue guitars. Yeah, this thing is gorgeous. And it's actually the cheapest electric guitar that I own. The reason I fell in love with this immediately was because I actually had recently got into a musician called Jude Smith, who owns a Japanese-made Stratocaster in this same color configuration. Maple neck, which is a light brown neck for those of you that don't know. The Lake Placid blue, cream pickguard. I saw it, I had to have it. So once again, I sold one of my other guitars to fund this, and I'm really stoked I did. It's kind of become my unofficial rhythm guitar for playing chords. I don't typically do a lot of solos on this. I reserve that for the Silver Sky and guitar number 5. It shares a lot of commonalities with the Silver Sky, which is another reason why I wanted to get this so bad. It's got a slightly thicker neck, definitely thicker than your typical Fender Stratocasters. So it feels really nice in the hand. And again, you just can't go past that color. That blue it just doesn't do it justice in the camera, but it's so pretty. I really like it. This guy's actually become my unofficial project guitar. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but the pickups are actually like a clear white, whereas the pickguard is currently now cream. It's like an almost like a beige. The pickguard this came with was the same color as the pickups. It was all white. I changed that out recently because Jude Smith, the Strat that he has a cream pickguard, and I thought it looked really nice against the blue. So I've swapped that out. I have plans to change the tuners as well to locking tuners so it's easy to change strings. I hate changing guitar strings. I suck at it. I need to do it more, but that'll help me a lot. And eventually when money allows, I'll probably change the pickups as well to just something slightly beefier, particularly in the bridge position, so I can actually use this more for solos if I want. But I still love playing this, especially for chords and lower output solos. If the Japanese Strat was a surprise, this final guitar was the ultimate surprise for me in 2021. I've actually only had this guitar for about a month, and at the point I got it, we were in a pretty tight spot financially. So what did Paul do? He sold one of his guitars, and he got this. It's a Gretsch G5422TG Electromatic in Snowcrest white. It's a bit of a mouthful, but a warranted mouthful. Look at this thing. This is actually the second Gretsch guitar I've owned. I sold my other one because I preferred my Telecaster at the time. However, come 3 months ago, Paul had been watching a lot of worship guitarists on Instagram and had noticed that a lot of them have been playing Gretsch guitars. So subsequently, I was absolutely gassing to get one. For those of you that don't know, GAS stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome, and it's a very common side effect when getting into any field that's heavily gear related. Obviously, I've made a poor decision getting into guitar and filmmaking. Anyway, I did a bunch of research and finally came across this model, which appealed to me because it was at a good price point, but also had the look of a guitar that was 3 times the price, which of course are all the guitars that the big worship players are using. Paul can't afford that. So as fate would have it, I hit up a dealer in Australia who had one left in stock. They agreed to let me buy it on lay-by. So then spend the next 2 months using my video editing payments to pay this baby off. And now she's here. I think it is safe to say my jaw hit the floor when I took this out of the box. Pictures and videos online didn't really do justice for just how gorgeous this guitar is, especially when you consider how cheap it is compared to higher end models from Gretsch. Looks great, sounds great, plays great. Couldn't ask for anything more. All right, that's my guitar collection for 2021. It's definitely been a journey getting here, but it's a journey I've really enjoyed. I've learned a lot along the way, especially over the last few months when I started looking into modifying my Japanese Strat. It was definitely empowering as a player to open up a guitar I owned, learn what makes a guitar on the inside, and put it back together. It's made me feel a lot more competent and comfortable telling people that I play guitar, especially because of my background as a drummer. Will the collection be the same this time next year? Who knows? Only money and self-control will determine that. I'll admit I already have my eye on a few other guitars, but again, this journey has taught me that patience pays off and it's okay to hold out and make sure you really want something. You don't want to spend a couple of $1,000s on an instrument you play for a month and then have to try and resell at a lower cost. That's probably another video for another time though. If you have any guitar related questions, leave a comment down below. I love talking about music gear, whatever, anything music. And if you haven't, I would love it if you could subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to see that subscriber number tick up. I still love making videos, but you know, it's nice. All right guys, see you next week.